Everybody has their own story.
They do. And
It's so true.
the importance of those stories. And I was thinking about, it was just a different slant on it though, that all this time you feel, have you ever been aware of how insignificant you are when you consider the universe and how we're just a speck in the story of it all?
A fractal of
nothing really, you know. I mean,
yeah.
And sometimes I'm weirded out by, overwhelmed by how there's people living in places that, you know, your lives never intersect and you never, and it just all happens in this big thing and we think we're self-important, and then you find out how, you know, really you think about how small we are in. But then I thought maybe I've been understanding about it wrong all this time, because every life has a story. It's not that people necessarily tell it, but their lives tell it.
Right.
And the more people that we know, if we're open-minded and we don't bring our own, you know, and we marry an understanding, we get a new perspective and an understanding from them.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes good, sometimes bad, but we can learn from every life. And so
100%.
if once we marry what their information is with our growing understanding that's developing,
Mm-hmm.
that's when we find truth and clarity and wisdom.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so maybe it's not about how small we are, maybe it's about how much there is. So if every life is a story that we can learn from and grow from and gain wisdom from, then, you know, if they're all books, that story has an answer, then I need to, you know, visit the library more often, you know. Because I'm just thinking about how you spend your time isolated or cut yourself off, or we tend to compare or judge people before we know them, when their life is a lesson to us.
100%, because every single human being matters in this world.
Yeah.
Because we together make up the world. You know, like with the stories, like everybody has a story. You're so right, and I
it
think,
all interacts.
Yeah, that's seriously amazing. I am like dying.
Well, I was just thinking, it's the different amazement of, you know, it's not like, I always think about how big the universe and how small I am, but actually, when you think about every person in it, and if they're all important, how big that is, because how many opportunities to learn and grow and understand more we have by being open to other people.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're closed-minded and closed off, that growth doesn't happen and we don't gain the wisdom that we need.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We deny our own self, but it's...
Wow, yes.
It's our own personal story that only we can learn by interacting with other people. And
yes.
I don't know.
I heard this the other day, that life is the classroom and people are your assignments. And if you look at life that way, you're an assignment for another human. So as much as you seem insignificant in this world, every interaction is a moment for you to make an imprint on someone's story.
Exactly.
And to not only learn from their story, but
theirs.
Yeah, but contribute to their story. Wow. So
it makes you wonder how much of my life I spend with blinders on, not learning when it's right there in front of me, not taking the time or having the compassion to understand.
Because we're so quick to judge from our perception, when this person is literally in our life to teach us something, and we're not open to be receiving the message because we're stuck in judgment.
Yeah.
Do you want to know something crazy?
What's that?
I just was listening to a book called The Judgment Detox, and she said the only thing that separates us from love is judgment. Love from ourselves and love for others is judgment. That's what separates you from love. Think about it. Even when you're victimized by someone, you're in judgment. You're either judging that person's action and how they hurt there, or you're judging yourself because you can't believe that you let this person hurt you. Like, the only thing that causes you to move away from love is judgment.
Wow. That's a big thing.
Crazy, huh? I love that. That is like
a big thing.
Those thoughts.
Other thing that I thought about every person is that, how even though we feel insignificant, every individual has their own take on everything. That's why we can only learn something from them, because nobody else has that perspective. Nobody else brings to the world what they've learned in their life, what they've done and gone through, and how they process it. Because even if we live the exact same life, we process that different.
Wow.
I mean, how different are you than your sisters and brothers, and you all went through similar lives?
Yes.
But you processed it and you interpreted it different and applied it
100%. 100%. And it's so interesting because my Josh, my lover, my soulmate, he was doing research when he was writing this book on meta-awareness, and by the time you're 30, there's over 2 billion moments that make you. And moments are moments like this, an experience, like impressions, like you're intaking information constantly and processing it through your mind, and reflecting and introspecting. And I thought that was crazy too.
How many did
2
you say?
2 billion. 2 billion moments. So you're so right. Every person has a different perception.
Well, and then even think what's more unique than that, okay? So to every interaction, we bring our own truth with us, what our truth is at that moment, based on, how it always evolves and how it's different a little bit down the road, and at whatever time in our life it is that we happen to interact with another person is where our truth is. And then you marry that with whatever we learn from the other person, with whatever our perspective is
of that moment.
Exactly.
Holy crap, I love it. That is amazing.
And so there's this truth that is uniquely personal that nobody else has.
And those moments will never be multiplied, because that moment is that 1 second
can
that
only happen there.
In that yes. Wow.
Isn't that mind-blowing?
You're so amazing. Thank you so much for sharing.
I don't know.
I love it.
It was kind of funny. I thought about it. It was, of all stupid things, I was making the bed.
You know.
And I was going, oh.
You had an epiphany.
It was just like, oh man.
Hell yeah.
Don't you love those moments?
It's so nice to know that we can evolve and grow and expand our consciousness like that. And like the best is when it just comes divinely and you're just like, that is so cool.
Well, it makes me think about how I interact with people, and how can I, sometimes I'm obsessed. You ever known people that never really listen to what you say? They're waiting to speak. They're
waiting to respond.
Exactly. And, I guess we're all guilty of that, because we get excited and we can't wait to tell somebody something. But I've thought about those moments and how many times that I wasted when I had somebody telling me something that I wasn't fully listening to, and how I need to be more aware and more tuned in the moments that I'm at, because like you said, it never repeats itself. Yeah,
and also in the listening aspect of not just what they're telling you, but this person matters, and maybe you don't really care what they're talking about on like a level of like a level of like interest in that topic, but you care about that person, so you just tune in and you listen, and you have the awareness to know if you're listening or not, you know?
Exactly. Well, and it's not